Ahoy hoy, this is Michaela from Team Retro, where we like retro games, we like roguelikes, and we like the devices that bring them to us. So over the last couple of weeks, I have been playing my Switch OLED almost exclusively. Here I am playing Animal Crossing New Horizons, basically remodeling my entire island in preparation for the new update. And I am gearing up for a final review of this system as a device for retro games as well as roguelikes. And while I found the system transfer process pretty seamless, I did run into a couple of hiccups specifically with Animal Crossing. So I wanted to do a short tutorial video on how to go through the system transfer process for bringing all your content from your old Switch to your new Switch, but I also wanted to mention a couple of things that you need to make sure you do before you format your old Switch. Basically, I'm making this video so that you guys don't make the same mistakes I did when doing a system transfer. So let's jump into it and let's get started. So we're going to start today's video with my old Switch next to my new Switch side by side. And first thing we need to do is we need to just start going through some of the initial setup processes for the Switch. So clicking the language and accepting the terms and conditions. Next step in the setup process is just to make sure we are connecting to the internet. So we're going to search for networks, and I'm just going to take a minute and I'm going to connect to my Wi-Fi network off screen. Alright, now that we are connected to the internet, let's go ahead and continue with the setup process. We're going to pick our time zone. And then it asks if you want to connect it to the TV. We're just going to click later. However, at this point, it is going to prompt you to take the Joy-Cons out of the system. And for whatever reason, you can't go further in this process until you take both Joy-Cons out, probably so that they could pair through Bluetooth. So we're going to go ahead and do that. And as you can see, once the Joy-Cons are removed, it does prompt you to click next. So you can go ahead and click OK to the next couple of prompts. And now we're going to add a user. So let's go ahead and click next and import user data from another console. We're going to go ahead and put the Joy-Cons back in because we are done pairing them. And in this situation, yes, we do still have the console that we want to import. So we're going to go ahead and click yes. Now here it's going to ask you if you still plan on using your own console, and you could click yes or no depending on your situation. I actually sold my old console to some friends of mine for them to give to their kids, so Lily and Molly, if you're watching, congratulations, your Switch is on YouTube. So I went ahead and clicked no, and you're going to click next to go through these next couple of prompts. Go ahead and click transfer. It's going to give you some information about what happens to your user data. And at this point, it may ask you to update the firmware. So go ahead and update it. Not all Switches ship with the latest firmware. So it's just going to take us a couple of minutes to update the system, and then it's going to restart when it's complete. And then once it restarts, it's going to take you back to the user screen. So let's go back to import data from another console. Let's click no to using the console, and let's just go through the prompts again. Now at this point, it asked me to connect the AC adapter. So it's going to ask you to do this for both your new Switch and your old Switch. So I'm just going to go grab my AC adapter and be right back. Alright, now let's go ahead and plug in the AC adapter to the OLED switch. So I'm just going to move the old model for a second, and I'm just going to shift a couple of things down so that I can plug this in and just make sure that my wires are not in the way. So we'll put the old switch on top, we'll put the new switch on the bottom, and here it's going to prompt you to sign into your Nintendo account. So I'm going to go ahead and take a minute and do that. And just like before, I'm going to do that off screen. All right, we're all signed into our Nintendo account, and it's just asking me to wait. And it's going to ask you on the new Switch if you want to transfer the user. So we're going to go ahead and click OK. And now we get to go to the old model and prep that one up. So let's go into System Settings. Let's go to Users and then scroll down to Transfer Your User Data and go through the prompts just like you did on your OLED model. Again, you'll need to connect your AC adapter. So let me go grab a second AC adapter for the old Switch. And we're going to go ahead and plug that one in. Now I'm using a third-party AC adapter by Genki because I wanted to use the L-shaped USB-C port in order to fit both switches into this video. But if you have two Nintendo AC adapters, that's fine too. As long as you have something that the Switch will accept as charged, it will work. Now it's going to ask you if this is the source console or the target console. Go ahead and click source console because we're on the original Switch. And then you can read the prompts and go ahead and click continue. Please forgive me for a second. I just needed to readjust my camera to make sure you could see both switches. All right, much better. Let's go ahead and click continue now. Now it's going to ask you to continue preparations on the target console, but we've already set that up. We just need to wait for the OLED Switch to recognize the old Switch. And here's the big green button on the source console. Let's click that, and it's going to go ahead and transfer your information. Now this is going to take a few minutes, so go ahead and use the bathroom, grab your beverage of choice, whatever you need to do while this is transferring, and when it's finished, we'll come back and finish up the process. And this whole process took me about 20 minutes of real time, close to half an hour, so I just kind of let the camera run while I went off and did other things. So I'm going to speed this up, and while this is sped up, I'm going to throw some music by N64 Josh on, so enjoy about a minute and a half of some cool tunes. Alright, now that our system transfer is completed, let's go ahead and click next, and we're going to go ahead and click skip because we're only adding one user. And then at this point it's going to tell us about Nintendo Switch Online, and we can configure parental controls here if we want. I'm not going to, but we're actually done at this point with the system transfer. However, you're going to notice that none of our games are actually here. The user was transferred and most of our save data was transferred. However, we're going to need to download the games themselves back from the Nintendo eShop. And in order to do that, we're going to need to move our memory card from our old Switch to our new Switch. So let's go ahead and do that now. So let's go to the old Switch and let's power down the console. We could take the AC adapter out at this point because we are done with the system transfer. So let's hold down the power button, click power options, and click turn off. Now let's spin the unit around, open up the kickstand, and let's pop the SD card out and put it in the new system. Now, for some reason, it asked me to do a system update again in order to use the micro SD card. I have a 1 terabyte card. So I'm just going to go ahead and click system update and let the system restart again. Now, once I restarted and went to the home screen, it gave me a prompt to delete the content of the SD card. However, it thankfully said that it was only going to delete the software on the card. It actually said it was going to preserve screenshots, videos, and any other non Nintendo Switch data. So even though I was really nervous about it, I went ahead and clicked delete anyway and let it format the card. And oddly enough, the Nintendo Switch seemed to freeze at this point, and I was actually going to edit this out, but then I decided to leave it in because I didn't want anyone else to freak out if this happened to you. It showed as frozen, but then I left it alone for about a minute or so, and it did actually go to a black screen and restarted the Switch. Again, I thought my OLED crashed and restarted, and I thought I was going to have to go through the process again. But once it restarted and once I got to the home screen, it didn't give me the prompt again. So my guess is it was doing something behind the scenes to properly format this card. Because when I went into my album, there are all my 5 years of screenshots and videos that were on my original Switch. So we seem to be good to go. And when I went into settings and data management, I could see that the micro SD card was indeed being taken up by the screenshots and videos, so they were not moved. So we should be done with the system transfer process, so let me grab my physical copy of Metroid Dread and let's see if the save actually loads. And there it is. There's my save file from Metroid Dread, which I started on my older Switch, sitting here on my OLED Switch, ready to go. So that's our sign that our system transfer was successful, and all of our save data has indeed moved over to the new Switch. Now the only thing left to do is to go on the eShop, re-download all your digital titles, and put all your physical titles back in the new Switch so the Switch can recognize them and load them up as necessary. Now before we wrap up, I just want to make sure I tell you how to get your Animal Crossing save data over to the Switch OLED, because this does not transfer with a regular system transfer, and I learned this the hard way and had to contact Nintendo to get my island restored, but thankfully I had the save data back up. So, in order to transfer your island from your old Switch to your new Switch, you can try to click select to get to the Tom Nook menu from the title screen, but all he's going to tell you to do is he's going to say that you can't move if you're the resident representative. Now, if you had gotten your own Switch and you were playing Animal Crossing on a parent's or a friend's or a family member's Switch, then you can move the non-resident representative character. However, if you're going to try to move the whole entire island, then you actually have to go on the eShop and you have to download a separate app called the Island Transfer Tool, and you have to download this on both the source console and the new console, and you'll have to follow the prompts there. Now, if you didn't do that and you had your island backed up with online, all you have to do is hold the minus button after you boot up Animal Crossing New Horizons, and you can also access your online backup from there, and you could download your island without having to use the island transfer tool, but I had to call and speak to a Nintendo representative in order to learn that. So it's probably easier before you format your old Switch to just go ahead and download this tool and just move the island over yourself. And that'll do it for this video. Hopefully this tutorial will make the system transfer process as painless as possible, and hopefully your Animal Crossing island is intact. If you want to see the work I've been putting into Animal Crossing over the last 3 weeks, I'll leave the dream code to my island in the description, and I'll also leave a link to my Discord so you can pop in and you could give me feedback on this video, and you could also give me feedback on my Animal Crossing island. And if this video was helpful to you in any way, please be sure to like and subscribe. Until next time, coming to you from the island of Farcaster, bye for now, and don't stop believing.